Hi, good day, everyone. Welcome to Jabber Language Services Limited YouTube channel. Hope you're having a very good day today. And we are here with myself. I am the host, Tariq Kandal Sunil, a current year 2 student in University of the West Indies, St. Augustine campus, studying a major in Spanish and a minor in marketing. And today we are here with Karen, a past student and now secondary school teacher at the prestigious St. Mary's College, Trinidad, owner of Quintessential Language Learning over 5 years, and educating and aspiring young children in the Caribbean. Mr. Weeks, thanks for having me.
Thanks for having me, Tariq. I see you switch back to the default, Mr. Weeks.
Yes, sir. Because for all who don't know, I am a past student of Mr. Weeks back in CIC from Form 4 to 5, and a student of his lessons class as well. So we have history together. You could say that.
Nice, yes.
You know?
So it was a full circle moment, actually, from interviewing you for CSEC Spanish preparation days
Yeah.
to interviewing me.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much again. So if you have any further questions, we could go straight into the interview if there's anything.
Straight into the floor, man, conversing.
Yes, sir. So we just wanted to get a background about you and to just tell us more about yourself and what motivated you to go into the language field, particularly in Spanish.
Well, I don't know. Sometimes I tell this story so many times I take it for granted that people may know already. But my story is a bit interesting because I could say it like this. A teacher motivated me to do Spanish. That's Mr. Crespo, Mr. Anthony Crespo, who was my Form 6 Spanish lessons teacher. But I never signed up to do Spanish at the University of the West Indies. My plan was to go to UWI Mona to do a degree in marketing and communications under the CARIMAC, I believe is the name, Caribbean Media and Communication Institute. And that same year, in preparing for CAPE exams, my father would have passed. And at the last minute, I made a decision to stay in St. Augustine and help out my mom, etc. It was weird because I would have gone through the process and do mock exams, gone through the process and do CAPE. Even to get through to that degree program at UWI Mona, it wasn't just based on the CAPE results. We also had to write an entrance exam for the institute. So I was successful with all. I even applied to hotel school because outside of journalism and being attracted to persons in the media who were wordsmiths, another one of the things I like to do at that time was cook. So in my mind, if I'm not going and go to Jamaica, I would stay in Trinidad and learn to become a chef. And I remember about maybe a week before classes started at UWI, just going to UWI with some of my friends to see if maybe they had signed up for St. Augustine. I didn't, as I said. I never signed up to do Spanish at St. Augustine. And while we were there, I remember receiving a call from UWI Mona, Jamaica. And they said, Mr. Weeks, you have been successful for the degree and we invite you to come over, etc., etc. That sort of stuff. And I remember saying to the lady, well, miss, I don't want to come again in certain family situations and I think I want to stay in Trinidad. I can't do the degree here in Trinidad instead. And she said, no, Mr. Weeks, we are the only UWI that offers this program. And literally my words was, well, I think I like Spanish. You think you could tell them in St. Augustine I want to do Spanish instead? And she was like, no problem. We will send a fax to them and you could do a major in Spanish. And when the persons called me at that time from admin in St. Augustine, they had to verify which mine I wanted to sign up for. So my journey into the field of Spanish was just because through growing through the process of classes with Mr. Crespo, I like Spanish. But at that time, when I had to make the decision, there was never any aspiration to be anything in Spanish, any career associated with Spanish, a teacher, nothing like that. So that was my introduction to where I am now.
Wow, such a long, expansive story because this sometimes it don't really be your goal or your first intention to really go into a different country, studying Spanish and stuff, but that is how sometimes life works, Interesting to really hear that. And when you were studying there, were there any more countries that you visited, whether it be English speaking where you study Spanish, or other Spanish speaking country that you have visited throughout your career or profession?
As a family, my family would have gone to Margaret Island, Venezuela in 2006. This was just after sitting the CSEC exams. And while I was doing my degree in Spanish, my fear was that after giving 3 years of my life and sacrificing in studies, an employer would tell me you have no work experience. So practically, outside of studying, my entire first year in UE was seeking out a job where I could actually use what I'm doing in my degree. And I would have gotten through to work at the airport as a bilingual passenger service agent, bilingual passenger service rep. And I was assigned to Copa Airlines and Continental Airlines at that time, which is now United. So I built my fluency not from visiting countries, but from working while I was studying, and specifically trying to align myself to work with a Spanish-speaking airline where I would meet persons every day and be able to practice. Really and truly, I would say I built my fluency there more than within the classroom, whether at UE or wherever.
Okay, so it was really the experience working in those fields than the actual classroom and having textbooks and such like that.
Don't get me wrong, the classroom gave an excellent foundation and base to start from. And in the UE system, we were lucky to have lecturers from year 1. The main Spanish language course was a Spaniard, Laura Serrano. I also, through my time, had a Venezuelan, Ali Chirino, Cuban, Regla Diaz, Colombian. So you'll be accustomed in so many different accents and within the classroom. So when I went to the airport environment, that provided the perfect base for me to get accustomed to know, all right, this passenger is from Argentina. Even before you see the documents, that sort of stuff, or this person is Venezuelan, or that person is Cuban based on the way they dress, etc. So the classroom definitely gave me a solid foundation. And from there, the fluidity would have been built in the place of work. You're at arrivals and you have to clear passengers, but for whatever reason, immigration is holding them back with documentation, and you just strike up a conversation. And many times over 2.5 years that happened, and I would have built my fluency and gotten work experience at the same time too. So yeah.
No problem. And what was some of the things that really pushed you to be efficient, to really be competent in that foreign language? Because you didn't really visit the foreign countries, which is typical. So you had a different path than the usual person.
Yeah.
But what aspects you would personally say that really helped you to reach from the average Spanish speaker here in Trinidad to one who is teaching and having lessons classes to really build up people, you would say?
Okay, well, I am at that part of my life, free, young, single, disengaged. I always took a lot of risks. So my thing was throw yourself in the deep end. So working in the airport was doing that. You don't know, the counters, the training we would have received in customer service and etc. wasn't in Spanish. So you had to try to translate whatever phrases you learn in English through the customer service training, translate that to Spanish. So that was a risk in itself, because you have to make sure that all the information is accurate and person's documentation, etc. The penalties of getting things wrong in that environment were very harsh. And if, for example, there were 7 persons on the counter, many times there's only 1 person speaking Spanish, or it wasn't a case, well, not 1, let me say 1 to 3 persons out of 7 at any given time. And then there would be the supervisor as well, yeah? But although they may know the Spanish phrases, they were not Spanish speakers, that sort of stuff. So you have to learn on the job when it is you're with passengers, immigration asking you stuff. Immigration is not asking you what are your qualifications to do this. They just anticipating and expecting that you are able to communicate the information effectively. So that was one way of taking risks that kind of fine-tune and hone my skills. Also, immediately after finishing my degree, one of my past lecturers, Dr. Cowie, he would have started a Latin American forum. And that coincided with around the same time when I just handed up my undergraduate thesis. And here was I doing the second presentation in this forum in front of ambassadors and academics, professors, etc., on my thesis in Spanish. And it wasn't just presenting a thesis, it was fielding questions after, etc. as well. You have to know your content so well to be able to answer the questions. One, in addition to knowing your content, you need to be proficient enough in Spanish to give an answer accordingly, etc. So throughout my career, I've been deliberately putting myself in situations of high risk. Now that I'm a little bit older, and I feel like if I don't know, not diagnosed, but I would be surprised if I have a bit of ADHD. You realize that this is the type of environments that I thrive in. So, and I can give you more examples. Doing volunteerism for a Cuban dance company that came here in 2017, and there were times I didn't know if they were talking Spanish, Cuban dialect, or African words, because it was a dance and a lot of stuff with Orisha and Santeria, etc. So I wasn't even sure. I remember that was one of the most embarrassing moments ever, because here was I with a degree, everybody is expecting this from you, and you realize if you thought you was good, you're as good where you think you may be. So that made me go back to the drawing board, and I've just always deliberately put myself in positions to be challenged and to take risk so that I could grow and refine my abilities, my linguistic abilities in Spanish. And that has been my process throughout the years, and I continue to do that as well.
Okay. I think we all should learn from that. What you're saying is that pressure really makes diamonds in truth, because to step out into immigration, being trained, there you go.
I was going to say, no growth happens in comfort, in a space of comfort. And many times we just end up in that position of discomfort because of whatever life circumstances, etc. And I think the risk, personally sharing now, I think the risk with that is you could end up wherever the current of life takes you when you do that. But if it is you chart your course, you are putting yourself in the driver's seat of what your destiny, what your future would look like, the type of life that you're able to enjoy and that sort of stuff. So that has been the benefit of doing that, I realize, over the years too.
Okay. What I think is from what you're saying talking about charting your course, because because having to go through immigration and then writing thesis, talking to Cubans, but that led up to you really charting your course and really doing tours overseas in Venezuela, Margarita, to really have that. And from your experience doing that, what do you think are like the benefits, or how was your time doing that and currently doing that as well in Venezuela?
Doing what in particular? The tours?
The tours, yeah.
Yeah, well, it have a backstory to everything, and that is why when you all tell me 15 to 20 minutes, I was like, we will see. But even that was because of experiences again. So I would have had the past experience of working at the airport. 2016, here I am now teaching. And once again, baptism by fire. The teacher that I was supposed to... So I started off teaching at St. Mary's for somebody on maternity leave. This was in the third term in 2016. And come the first term in September, there was a teacher that was retiring. So they kind of brought me on board. It was a succession planning to bring me for this person on maternity leave. By the time that person is out on maternity leave, back out from maternity leave, I will take over for this next teacher that's retiring. And in that way, I got some experience as well with the teaching before going full-fledged into it and having the scope of a full 5-6 different forms to teach. So at the end of that third term, the teacher who was supposed to retire in September, the end of September, she actually said that since this is my last official term, I'm going to do an immersion trip to Margaret Island, Venezuela. Now, this was a teacher that taught me as well, right? Miss Ramona Salas. And even at my time in St. Mary's, Form 2 and 3, she taught me. At my time in St. Mary's, she did tours. She would have stopped for whatever reason. And I went on the tour with her. And it was a learning experience. I'll be very diplomatic in my choice of words to say that, yeah? We are good. We have an excellent relationship still. But it was really a learning experience for me. And as I say, baptism by fire, being thrown out into the deep end with all responsibilities around planning and executing that trip and assisting her in doing that. Then the following year, there was another trip to Margarita Island, Venezuela. And this time, the school would have somebody outside of the school did the planning. And from the inside of the school, I would rally the boys, the organization, the documents, etc., to give to that person and make payment to the bank. And after those two experiences, my takeaway was that I could do this way better. With the experience I have from working in the airport, knowing the aviation industry, knowing the travel industry, and my whole take on language learning, I felt like I could do the same thing and do it way much better. I could give a greater educational value to the students. I could give greater natural enjoyment to the students and parents. And it could really be an investment into their lives where, one, motivation towards studying and learning Spanish, and two, going forward to study it at study Spanish beyond, let me say, Form 3, Form 5, that sort of stuff. And basically, I'm proud to say that I was able to do a better job. From, if you go on Instagram in the earlier days, you will see some of the footage from that. We were able to have student exchanges when we go on those trips. Just the makeup of the hotel, there's a natural enjoyment that the students can enjoy. So there was always a healthy balance of you're learning in every single thing you do, but at the same time, we are doing this during vacation. So there's natural enjoyment. There's safety, most importantly. There's convenience for parents and everybody alike. And it's so funny that many times you have the children in mind when you're doing this, but many parents come out of it saying, yo, I want to learn Spanish now too. Or you see them practicing the language, sometimes even more than the students in these trips. And really and truly, that is, just to add in this as well, that is where Quintessential started from. Quintessential language learning. My whole idea was to do a business about trips, because I believe that the quintessential or the ideal way to learn a language is through being immersed in the culture, having exchange with native speakers, and doing this in a way that is excellent. So my idea was, let me do trips. And I registered the business in 2017, and the first trip was in December 2017 that I did on my own. And coming out of the experience of those trips, parents would hear you speaking, they would see you interacting, etc. And it's like, I want my son to come lessons by you. This time I'm not doing any lessons. I'm just waiting once a year to do trips, etc. And parent after parent after parent do asking for the classes. Eventually they say, all right, I'll do the classes. And as the classes start, students start to tell other students about the classes. And really and truly, that's how the business has grown over the years, through that word of mouth. And as I say, just staying true to what I believe language learning is supposed to be. It must have those ingredients of interaction, immersion, and excellence. And I guess that has been the X factor for me, and towards the successes I have enjoyed.
Thank you very much for that. I really appreciate that, to say the least. And first of all, well done. Really going out there, stepping into foreign territories and just expanding personal knowledge about culture, because you're not only influencing the students, but you're also influencing the parents as well. And then that will transfer to generation after generation to really build and to help people learn Spanish, because we have plenty Venezuelans here, so there's plenty scope for it nowadays, which people don't seem to realize. But that's very good. And speaking of enjoyment, because that was a constant theme from what you was talking about, and that leads me to my next question. What is one, or you can give me multiple, but what is one memorable moment that you had from these trips? And it could be anything like shocking, could be something fun, but what one thing that stuck out to you would say?
Yeah, I could think of one. The first trip, as I said, was baptism by fire, because I was relatively young, I aged a lot in the past 9 years of teaching, but I was about 26, 27, new teacher on the block. And we had some real miserable boys on that trip, real miserable. Regalio Holder, he was his keeper for St. Mary's College at one point in time. Tazea O'Connor, who went on to win Road March. Malik Wilson, who was finishing up his law studies, etc. So we had a real mix of boys from the very mischievous to the quietly mischievous to the ones that might just follow, etc. And that was a baptism by fire. I remember that trip got so bad that these boys used to be running away from the room in the night. When I give them a certain curfew to go in their bed, they can wake up in the middle of the night because they're knocking on people, what they do, DoorDash or whatever they call it, and they just causing havoc in the hotel. And it got so bad that I had to change up the whole rooming arrangements within the trip. So all the troublemakers were sleeping in Week's room so that he could have them under 24/7 surveillance, basically. And I remember saying, yo, you sure you want to come into this teaching thing after this experience? And I remember going back on the plane, on the aircraft to go back home, and one student come and they give you a gift, and it's like, sir, I buy this for you because you're real pop with we, and I appreciate how patient you was with us and how much you help us, etc. This is the same troublemakers, the same. Now there's good boys, but they was just real miserable. And then I remember Malik Wilson even bought a keychain holder from the Marine Museum in Margarita, which I still use up to this day. So these are things that stick with you and make you realize that sometimes you don't really see visibly the impact that you're making in a person's life in the present. You're talking, they're giving trouble, you're talking. But it showed me, that was like the bait to hook me into teaching. Because it made me realize, wait now, when you think them fellas aren't listening to you at all, when you think they're taking you on at all, something is actually taking place up there. Something taking place, and there's some connection, a bond is formed, and the things that you say to them, the interactions that you have with them, although you think they ignoring you or they're not hearing at all, it actually, something is taking place and it's meaningful to them. And it made me realize that you have to continue what you're doing, Karen. It's not for the faint. It's not for everybody, this teaching thing, but thankfully I have the patience, etc., to be able to put up with it, or to be able to handle it. In Spanish only come to my mind, I think in aguantar or soportar, but thankfully, I have the patience, etc., to be able to not just survive in this career, but to make an impact, most importantly. So yeah, that's the most memorable moment for me.
Yeah, correct. Not just survive again, but to really excel and to really put your best foot forward, because it's just easy to teach, but it's our next thing to teach and then make an impact in our next person, like me, myself. So that is really inspirational, and it's good for teachers or persons who really want to instruct others in the future to hear that and to hear your story of persons giving trouble, but then you thinking they didn't really care or they ain't really business with you, but then after a while it will reap rewards and stuff like that. So I
was actually just to plug in again, I was actually shocked. I can't remember if it was you had confirmed for me or a conversation I had with your mom. And I remember you came into CIC, you was in Form 6 in Trinity, you had transferred, and they came into CIC for awards. And you just asked me about what to study, and I said, listen, could do the Spanish, but has some kind of other thing to, like a hard skill, I like to call it. I like to call the Spanish as the soft skill of communication and intercultural and interpersonal communication, but do something like marketing, do something like business. And I remember I was shocked when I was like, hey, Tariq actually listened to me, but he actually did do the marketing, etc. So, you just see, I always saw you as somebody enthusiastic about the language in the classroom. And I remember your year group was a difficult one. We had some boys that they really didn't care at all what results or what they came out of CSEC that period of their life with. But I remember you was always confident one, because I remember I started with you all in COVID, and you was always active and engaged in the online classroom, and that even multiplied when we came back in person. So I always have those memories and realize, oh, he has actually listened to me, man. It's not just in Spanish. I remember when I saw that you did the marketing and stuff. So I was really proud and glad when I heard that you got through this internship opportunity to basically wet your foot, as they say, into the field and all that it has to do with, because it's a linguistic type workplace. But here you get any marketing and social media experience, etc. So big up you too, Tariq.
Thank you very much. And
yeah, man.
Thank you very much. We just want to appreciate you as well as we close here today with this interview. And we just want to give you praise for your time, first of all, for coming out today, sharing your expertise, understanding, intellect of Spanish and your trips and your stories of where you've been and people who you touched and really impacted, So we just want to say warm thank you at Jabe Language Services Limited. And if it's anything, if you have any words of inspiration to the people, if you could share, that's possible.
You say you give me praise, but I play my part. All praises to Almighty God. There's a point in time I used to think why them students and them not capturing this thing, but this was so easy for me. And I had to humble myself and realize that sometimes some things are gifts from God. And I believe that my language, learning abilities and skill, and even teaching and imparting is a God-given skill and our God-given talent. Because in the same way, I could spend all the time learning geography and I will never come out to the same marks in Spanish. Spanish was always easy to me. I didn't have to do much shit, and it was always something that I look forward to learning and studying, etc. So all praises to God. And my thing is, I'm at a space now where I realize this is a talent that comes from God, and it's important that we serve and you serve excellently. I must give the plug, as you see behind my back too, of Dr. Cowie, because he would have invested in my life, and it's really the example of these fellows we follow. My dad, first and foremost, was setting the example. Mr. Crespo, as I explained, would have motivated me and piqued their interest in me towards Spanish, and it's still somebody that I could depend on even now. And even Dr. Cowie, I really try and follow his legacy, because I remember looking him up on Google once and saw a resume, CV, sorry. And many times when we think of a university lecturer, we think of all the publications, etc. But what really struck me was that while he was publishing and excelling in the field as a lecturer, more so, he was just churning out a lot of postgraduate students as well. So it's not just about I have this ability and what I could do to benefit myself and for me to excel in the career. But if you can't bring along other persons with you, if it is you can't say, yo, let me create an ex-Cowie or an ex-Karen or an ex-Crespo in Tariq, or in Jada, or in Roshana, or whichever one of my current or past students. Unless you could do these things, it really don't make no sense, So I receive, I'm not downplaying it, I receive with humility the recognition that you all give to me. And excuse, I don't know French, is Jabe? That's how you pronounce it? Jabe, right. So kudos as well to you all at Jabe, Jason, and the team, yourself, and continue to do excellent work, man.
Thank you very much. Fully appreciate that, as we close. So we just hope you have a very good day, and hope you, the viewers, hope you all enjoy the rest of your days. I hope you learned something today. Not one thing, but multiple things that you could take and understand and carry forward, as Mr. Weeks was saying, and carry forward to other people so that they can learn and just be a better person and person for society. So we just hope you all have a good day and take care.
Take care, everyone. Thanks for having me again.
Yes, sir.